Hello everyone, welcome along to another VCO Esports Studio with myself, Ben Constanduros. It is the week after Le Mans 24 Hours, and actually, for the first time in a horribly long time, I wasn't at the 24 Hours, which is a bit sad really, but our guest tonight was, and not only is he a massive esports racing fan and effectively professional, but also he took part in the Le Mans 24 Hours for real, and therefore who better to talk to? Job van Uitert. Did I say your name correctly, Job?
Job van Uitert. Depends.
Outed.
Well,
Okay, there we go.
no, Job van Uitert, but that's fine for me if you pronounce it like that.
Okay, cool. Firstly, well done on Le Mans. How did it go for you?
Well, it was quite a bizarre race for us. I would say that we were like in the mix at the start, basically leading in our class. I'm driving in the LMP2 Pro AM Championship, which is a championship where all the LMP2 cars have a bronze driver inside, and I'm doing that with Racing Team Netherlands. Basically, where the superstar we were leading, and then we had like a couple of setbacks, basically dropping us back to fifth in class. And from that moment onwards, we were chasing through the field, and in the end, I managed to get second place in basically the last 20 minutes. It was quite a hectic end because it was really tight. Like, we had to push a lot. We closed a gap of 3 minutes to the number two, and in the end we even finished within 30 seconds of the leader. So it ended up being quite a tight race. But yeah, great result in the end, and really good for the championship as well.
And how are you personally feeling after doing a 24-hour race? Does it take a lot out of you?
Yeah, it's quite tough. Basically, you sleep one night only, I guess, 1 hour, maybe 2 hours max. In general, like, the adrenaline doesn't make you want to go to sleep, basically, even though you try to recover as much as you can in between the stints. It's still pretty tough, and also the driving itself of an LMP2 car is it's physical, and you're in the car for 9 hours. I was in it, same as Guido, also 9 hours, and Fritz, our teammate, did six. But we also always have to be on standby when Fritz is driving, because you never know, like, if it starts raining, it's more beneficial to put me or Guido in. So yeah, that also takes away a bit of the rest, why we cannot always go back to our bed as soon as possible. Like on a pro car, there it's easier, basically, because you just say, okay, all the three are basically capable of doing the same job. But in our car, it's not that way. So you always, someone of me and Guido has to be ready, and that makes it pretty tough.
Must be super cool to have Guido van der Garde and Fritz van Aert as teammates for two totally different reasons. Because Fritz is a bronze driver, but a massive motorsport fanatic. He's competed in all kinds of different things. He owns all kinds of different racing cars. And then, I mean, for me, aged 32, no, I'm a bit older than that, actually. Guido van der Garde was a bit of a legend for me because he was world karting champion when I was karting. So those two guys must be great fun to have around.
Yeah, Guido is a super guy. It's always a bit of a dream also for me when you're smaller to even get to know him, basically. And now later on, you're racing with him together in the same car. We're really good mates now. Get along very well. Also Fritz, like, he's been supporting me for a long time in my racing career, but yeah, it's also a huge businessman in Holland, very well known for his supermarkets. And yeah, he's doing a mega job with all of that, and even combining it with the World Championship endurance racing. So just always a pleasure to be with them. Fritz is a person who, for example, never runs out of energy. He creates energy with doing what he loves. So if it's not the supermarket, it's with racing, and he's just always on it. And also Guido is, I've never seen him sad. I've never seen him unhappy, and it's always a pleasure to be with him. Always a big laugh.
I always feel like the whole of Holland's like that. Everyone seems to be smiling. Any Dutch racing driver I know seems to be always a bit of a card and having a great time. I see over your shoulder there, you've got a 24-hour trophy. Which one's that?
That's from last weekend when we finished second. I just took it with me on holiday, so that's why I have it with me standing here
Oh,
on our holiday. I
so
just went
we've
straight from
interrupted
it.
your holiday, have we?
No, not necessarily. It's part of my holiday now, I would say, because you have to do some duties after this. I cannot skip out and disappear from the world, I guess, in this period. But it's good. Like I prefer to have it this way than no one wants to talk to you and having a like after a bad result. So I guess it's positive.
So that's a trophy from this year.
Yeah.
You've actually experienced Le Mans in various different ways for a few years now.
Yeah, yeah. The previous 2 years I was with G Drive Racing and with United Autosports, but we were in the like with a pro lineup, you would say, basically not with a gentleman. Since this year is the first year that we have our own class inside LMP2, that's why you can see us now with a trophy, even though you're driving with a gentleman driver. But the previous years it was basically for the lead in LMP2. Both years were, yeah, I would say very successful until the car broke, which makes it quite tough because on paper we could have won the championship I mean the race already twice. One race we were leading for 18 hours, the other race for 16 hours. But yeah, that's also Le Mans. Like sometimes you're unlucky and it just doesn't go your way when you have an engine failure or even like the mass cable of the starter. Like it's a €2 piece of cable which broke down on our car and nothing you can do about it.
Oh, but in the virtual world, you have a little bit more control over mechanical problems like that. A little bit more control. And of course, you took part in, I think, what is universally thought of as the biggest sim racing event ever, the virtual 24 Hours of Le Mans last
Yeah.
June. How does it compare? How do the two events compare?
Yeah, I would say with the virtual Le Mans, we also had our fair share of technical issues. My internet went out last year, but it was a lot of fun. We did it just with the team, so we were with 4 pro drivers instead of 2 pro, 2 sim, which is in hindsight really tough because yeah, if we looked at the work that, for example, all the top sim teams put in it is incredible because they're all yeah putting so much time and effort and their setups are so refined, and for us just as 4 pro drivers trying to work everything out, you just come short because it's not what we daily do. But it was a lot of fun. I would say that the stints, etc., how you drive, how you share it in the night is very similar to what we do in real life, and that makes it fun to do, and also a good training in the end because you are awake and you have to try to sleep in the middle and recover as much as you can. And also it's still mentally really tough to be super focused because the sim is always just a little bit of a higher level than I would say in real life, because on the sim you can exploit everything a little bit more and it needs to be all perfect.
And so that was the RF2 24-hour race that happened last June. And rumours are we're going to get another one soon. So look forward to hearing about that on the VCO Esports Studio shortly. But have you done any other 24-hour races, for instance, on iRacing? Because you do a lot of sim racing.
Yeah, I did the 24 hour of Daytona once. And I think that's it. I think I did one more one more race, but we crashed after 1 hour, so we just retired immediately. But it's incredible how much time you put in it with the team to prepare everything, and you've done so many laps before you even start the race itself that once you just start the race, you do the same lap after lap after lap. Um, yeah, but it's fun, it's good, and also with friends, and yeah, sim racing in that way is a great way also for people who never have the opportunity to race to still feel what it is to drive a car for a very long time, even though it's virtually, it's still very realistic and good to do.
And do you use your sim at home for kind of training purposes? I know that there was a couple of guys who were racing at the weekend who were consistently on iRacing the week before on open
Yeah.
servers, trying to get as much used to traffic as possible.
Yeah. Personally, I didn't do a lot of sim practice before this Le Mans. It has to do with a couple of things with time, and I was just in the middle of getting a new PC, etc. So it just didn't work out. But in general, I always prepare a lot. But I do this with Atse Kerkhoff. Probably know him from Redline. He has like a simulator which is really close to my house, and I always go there with my teammate to prepare all the ELMS rounds. And then with Fritz, we spend a lot of time on the sim as well to get Fritz and especially ready. And that's how we train a lot before all the races.
And what kind of simulator does Fritz have? Is it a very, very high end kind of Team Netherlands simulator, or is it something that would be familiar to the kind of myself or people at home?
It's exactly the same one as I have at my home, but I would not say it's like the Logitech G27 setup
Yeah.
that you can find everywhere. Yeah, we have got some high end sim because for us it's really important how we feel with the car and what the feedback is, not necessarily about what is cheapest in a way. Like we just need to have it as realistic as possible, and but yeah, still it's all available for everyone, and you've got some really great screens and also simulator software programs like RF2, iRacing. They're both like have a good feel. Yeah, it's quite doable for everyone, I would say.
And interestingly, hardware wise, Holland seems to be really kind of leading the way with the companies, small companies, but still companies that are striving to be as realistic as possible and to provide you professional racing drivers with fantastic feel in the pedals and feel in the steering wheel.
Yeah, they do a good job, and I think that in Holland, well, for some reason, technology has been quite good here. Also, with all the universities we have, I think that the level that what we can produce in Holland is high enough and nice, and always striving to be the best. And that's also what you see in the sim racing world.
Yeah, because some of the very, very best drivers in the world, whether it be Max, who's probably one of the best sim racers in the world as well as a Formula One driver, Bono Huys, Rudy Van Buren. There are so many incredibly high end
Yeah.
drivers in the sim racing world. Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know. Maybe Holland has a lot of nerds. No, I don't want to call sim racers nerds. That's not true, because they're also cool guys.
So
No,
do you
I
not
don't know.
class
It's
yourself as a sim racer then?
I prefer to class myself as a real life racing driver because that's what I do mostly. Sim racing still is
Fair.
for me a hobby, and I like to do it, but it's not that I do it for a living or anything. So every bit
Yeah.
of that I do with it is for fun, and yeah, of course, I'm all very competitive if it comes to sim racing, but yeah, still the real life stuff is what I like the most.
Because ultimately, when we all have a passion and we end up working in our passion, sometimes you take it so seriously you forget that actually this is something that you wanted to do as a kid. So does the does the sim racing now provide you with that fun element and that escape versus getting into Le Mans, the World Endurance Championship, the Sports Car WeatherTech Championship in America, which is now your job?
Yeah. Yeah, well, the most fun, I guess everyone always has an iRacing when you go on a server with a lot of friends and you just pick the Mazda MX-5 and you start racing with each other. Like that's the most fun, at least I believe that I have had on iRacing, and I will always have it. Like you just make a server and invite a lot of people, and there you go. You have great racing, and it's super easy. It's also, funnily enough, how I started with motorsport myself when I was 15. I started in the Dutch Mazda MX-5 Cup, so that's also why probably I really enjoyed that car, how to drive it and how it feels, and it was just so easy and fun, and not necessarily easy to go quick, but all like it's not so high tech as like an LMP2 car. But it just brings me back to the roots. I guess that other race drivers have that with karting, but I never been really a lot into karting. So yeah, I have that with the Mazda, for example, and sim racing is just a great way to have fun as well. It's not, you don't always have to be serious, and yeah, you can just create your own service and have fun there, and no one is going to say, "Are you not allowed to do this or not?" So yeah, I guess that sim racing is a great way to do that.
And without that karting experience, which came first? Did the sim first, or your entrance into real racing and Mazdas?
No, no, I have some karting experience when I was like 7, 8 years old. I did I think 1.5 years of competition, but then I stopped because my dad was racing himself and he preferred to yeah, for him to race than for me to race, I would say. And after that, it was quite quickly when I was young enough to get my racing license. I started racing on track, and from there onwards, I went into. I started basically doing sim racing when I was, I would say, 18, quite late, but that's
Okay.
also when I got my nice sim, etc. And then it was also fun to race. Before it was just on the PlayStation and for playing the Formula One games, but yeah, in hindsight, that's not really like a super realistic simulator.
Not really. The
No.
motivation to go sim racing when you had a race license, was it really this is an extra way of testing, or was it this is a way to have fun, or what was the reason why you ended up sim racing at the same time as really getting seriously involved in real racing?
Yeah, it started with like an LMP3 model when basically in Formula 4 you tested so much, like there's not really a need to go to the sim a lot, in my opinion at least, because if you do 30 days of testing on track, you should have enough time to figure everything out. And then at that
Yeah.
time there was also not really an amazingly good model for the F4. Like now everything is so more refined, and you just see year after year after year everything just becomes better and better. um, but it started basically in LMP3 when I made like our own custom made model with Atse to get prepared for all the ELMS rounds. That worked out really well. Like we won the championship that year, and from that moment onwards, I also installed iRacing secretly because Atse said, "No, no, don't install all these things and just keep your PC for the LMP3 model." But I'm like, no, no, I want to have some fun as well, and that's how it all started with the iRacing side as well.
And he hasn't tried to get you signed up for Redline, or are you part of the Redline team secretly?
No, no, no. He didn't ask me for a line, and I guess that's also not going to happen. I'm not that mega on the sim that I will be part of Redline.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it's all just a big club. I think just everyone's just there for a good time, as well as obviously
Yeah,
doing
definitely.
incredibly well.
It's a good bunch of people also over there at Redline. I've always been with a group of friends, and I've been with various teams, with sim racing teams over the past few years. So yeah, in the end, it's just where I have the most fun. That's where I hang out, and then unless there is like an official race coming up or a championship like this year with the virtual Le Mans, then I'm teaming up with RAG, and I'm busy now with them preparing those races.
Awesome. That's really cool to hear. So you're kind of part of a team, and I think if somebody was looking for a real world driver with decent sim experience, they'd be knocking on your door. Where do you think the progress and the future lies in this relationship between the real world of sim racing, the real world of real racing, sorry, and then virtual racing? And how do you think this Le Mans marriage is a good thing, or how do you see it progressing?
I always think it's a good thing, but it's important to keep it also connecting to the people at home, because in the end, sim racing is a way for us to have fun, but it's great like for the fans and people who sit at home and who want to race like the same cars that we are able to do, and with the skin of the Yota car or the Racing Team Netherlands car, like that's passion. Like people have an emotion with it and they want to race with it. That's also why, for example, all the skins on iRacing, I think it's a great thing that you can pick your own brand or car or whatever you want to drive in, and just have fun and go with it. But that connection with the fans, that needs to be, yeah, that's for me the main priority, that it's also easy to do and easy to combine. That's also probably why the Formula One games are a huge success, because in the end, it's very easy to pick up. You just put the CD in the PlayStation, and there you go. That's sometimes with RF2 always a little bit tougher, but they're also now really working, and with their new user interface, it's starting to become much easier and a lot better. So I would say that everything is making progress in also the sim racing world.
Job, thank you very much for joining us. I know that it's a bit tricky straight after Le Mans to be able to get yourself in a position where you want to talk on camera. And thank you for taking a bit of time out from your holiday. And also,
No worries.
great to see the trophy behind you as well.
Yeah, hopefully we get some more in the future. But for now, it's I'm happy to already have this one with me, and let's see what the future brings. I will keep pushing, and also on the sim, and maybe we get the one from the virtual Le Mans. That would be really cool as well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for joining us. And as you know, every Tuesday evening now these days, 8 o'clock here on the VCO Esports Studio channel, we have guests from all around the world, all different things. And there is this big announcement coming up about the virtual 24 hours of Le Mans. We don't know what it is, but be sure that we will have the news as soon as we get it. And we've already heard that Job will be participating. So until next week, enjoy your sim racing, and thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.